In today's video, I'm going to share about my personal IBS story and how I went from food anxiety, endless questions, and second guessing to a confident plan for calm digestion and ultimately symptom resolution, so stay tuned. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. My name's Amanda Malicheski. I'm a certified functional nutrition health coach and a digestive and allergy detective. For weekly videos on how to find your personalized diet and supplement plan for IBS and SIBO, please consider subscribing and be sure to hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video. Today I'm going to do something a little different than usual. Normally I'm sharing tips that I share with my clients to help them resolve their IBS and SIBO symptoms, but today I want to share my personal IBS story, including how I found out that I had IBS and how I went through my approximately 8 or so year journey with dealing with it and then ultimately resolving it. So let's get started. All right, well, my IBS journey started actually long before my IBS symptoms actually began. So in my 20s and 30s, I would have intermittent episodes of ovarian pain in my lower right abdomen typically, but sometimes on the left side as well. And also in my 30s, my husband and I fulfilled one of our lifelong dreams by buying a piece of property and planning to build our own house. But like many lifelong dreams, this one came with a lot of stress. So when my oldest child was born, we lived in a 450 square foot yurt, all three of us together, and we had an outhouse for the bathroom, and we did not have a place to take a bath or a shower or any laundry. So we would kind of borrow showers and laundry from our dear neighbors down the road. And over the next 5 years, we planned and built our house, which was also a period of tremendous stress because I was raising my baby, then my toddler and my preschooler. And it was also a very financially stressful time, of course, because we were spending a lot of money on building our home. And when my second child was born, we were still building the house. In fact, in a lot of ways, there's some unfinished projects even still. And during this time that we were building our house, my best friend from childhood was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer. So this was kind of another added stress to my life at the time. And during these years, I would have some intermittent periods of gut issues. Like sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and have diarrhea, and which was kind of a problem having to run out to the outhouse. That was a pretty big bummer. Or I would have a couple of days sometimes where I didn't feel well and I would have like brain fog and my guts would feel all weird. And I was sometimes a little concerned that I might have some kind of gut infection, parasite or whatever, because we drink from spring water and also I swim in our local river in the summertime. But these episodes were typically short-lived and they would clear up on their own. And during this time, I also made some simple dietary changes. I tried a gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free diet for a little while, and that actually helped a lot. And I probably should have kept going with it, but I didn't because I thought, oh, well, I just have to do this for a short bit and I can go back to eating how I did before. Then when my youngest kid was 2, I decided I wanted to lose some weight. I wasn't fitting into my clothes how I wanted to. And so I learned about the keto diet. And, I heard all these magical, amazing things about the keto diet and how it was going to cure me of all kinds of health problems. And so I went all in on this keto diet. And I did talk about this in another much earlier video about how I did it all wrong for my body. I relied really heavily on dairy products, even though I knew, even from the time of my early 20s, that dairy didn't really work all that great for me. And I also relied really heavily on the sugar alcohols to replace sweetness in my diet. And I didn't know at the time that those foods are high FODMAP foods. And these sugar replacements helped me get off of sugar. I was a pretty big sugar addict when I started the keto diet, but they also really weren't good for me. And I didn't really notice. It was sort of like the frog in slowly boiling water, but over a period of like 6 to 8 months that I was doing the keto diet really intensely, my gut problems started to get worse and worse slowly. Now, all of this sounds like it might not totally be related, but I kind of want to set the stage here for how our life and our life circumstances can hook into these events and make things go wrong. So everything was fine until my best friend that I mentioned earlier, who was diagnosed with breast cancer, well, she died in 2013. This was also around the time that I weaned my youngest son. And so these two major shifts compounded to really heavily affect me. Now, in a way earlier video, I shared that I have a pretty extreme trauma in my past. When I was 9 years old, both of my parents died in a small plane accident, which was, of course, a really huge impact on my life. And I've noticed that when people or pets that are really important to me die, all of that grief and trauma gets reactivated and can really affect me a lot more severely than many other people that are experiencing grief. So when my best friend died and I had weaned my son, and then 2 months after my best friend died, 2 other friends of mine also died of cancer. Let's just say that the rug kind of got pulled out from under me. I started having really terrible menstrual cycles. My digestive symptoms became almost constant. They would wax and wane related to my cycle, but they were always kind of there. I was suffering from frequent diarrhea, bloating, cramping, urgency, and abdominal pain attacks. I was also having headaches, like migraine style headaches. I'd get brain fog. And there was this fatigue that sometimes, like some days I really felt like I couldn't get up off of the couch. And even worse, there was this anxiety over everything. And the anxiety was pretty intense. Now, I've lived with anxiety most of my adult life. It waxes and wanes, but during this period, it was really, really bad. It was affecting my sleep, and it was affecting my ability to take care of myself and my kids. And this was really the worst part. I was needing to raise my 2 kids who were aged 2 and 7 at the time. And like many of you, I went to see my doctor because I thought, oh my God, like all these things are going on. There must be something wrong. And she listened to me and she ordered some tests, and she ordered an ultrasound to check on the ovarian cysts that had been found previously on my ovaries. And you can probably guess where the story is going, but the tests came back normal. And she said, well, there's nothing blatantly wrong here. So, I could offer you some birth control pills that might help with some of these symptoms, but that was really all she had for me. And at this moment, I was just so demoralized and angry. I felt so alone and sad kind of all at the same time, because I just felt like the conventional medical model had just completely failed me. And so out of that feeling, I had to look for what else is going on here? What else can I do? And it was out of this feeling of what else can I do that I discovered functional medicine and started studying functional medicine and functional nutrition to try and figure out what else there was for me to do. And because I'm kind of a do-it-yourselfer, I decided I wasn't just going to find a functional medicine practitioner, but I was going to become my own functional medicine practitioner and do this all myself, which, as an aside, is kind of a funny little thing that people with trauma do is, oh, we're going to do it all ourselves because we can't depend on anybody. So I got trained how to do GI testing and hormone testing and adrenal testing. And I discovered that I had a parasite. I discovered I had some bacterial overgrowth. I discovered I had SIBO. And so at least I had some answers to work with. And I started on my journey of trying to do things to fix things up. And one of the things I started doing during this time was I started going down the diet rabbit hole. I explored the metabolic typing diet. I explored the low oxalate diet, the low histamine diet. But ultimately, all of these diet experiments started making my diet get narrower and narrower and more restrictive. And this was not healthy and not helping me. And this was the low point of my journey. I felt bad all the time. I was really frustrated with my food. I really didn't know exactly how to proceed or what to do. And I really just wasn't getting anywhere. So if you can relate to that state of being, go ahead and click like for me below this video or leave me a comment about that, telling me a little bit more about your story. So here's where we start to transition a little bit more towards success. Finally, I got sick of all the diet and supplement madness, and I started learning how to really figure out how to apply these solutions specifically to me to get results. And I completely owe my success in this regard to my mentor, Andrea Nakayama at the Functional Nutrition Alliance. I took her full body systems course and started learning how to listen to my body, how to not get caught in the information trap, and to stop chasing magic pills. And all of these things are the foundations of what I teach my clients now in my own online program. So I learned to use tools like a food mood poop diary, which enabled me to really detangle all of the specific foods that were contributing to my symptoms so that I could choose to avoid them. And I started learning about titrating, so starting low and going slow with new treatments or supplements and starting them one at a time so that I could really understand their impact on my symptoms and only continue if they were really helping. And ultimately, I started approaching my care with a much more systematic strategy so that I could nail down one solid point that I could depend on and then find another solid point that I could depend on. And in that way, build on my success rather than just kind of chasing shiny objects and pinging around on all kinds of random things. So using these principles, I finally got an actual diagnosis of endometriosis. And when I had surgery to correct it, I had extreme stage 4, which is the worst kind of endometriosis. And all of my abdominal organs were kind of stuck together, including the fact that my bowel was literally adhered to the wall of my abdomen. So no wonder I had digestive problems, right? The endo and the adhesions led to SIBO, which messed everything up further. And it took me years to find the budget and the wherewithal to actually deal with my SIBO, but I finally did. It took me all the way up until last year, but I finally got serious about it. I had the naturopath on board who could prescribe, and I've made several videos about my process with this, but to summarize my SIBO process, I had to treat SIBO 4 separate times with the Rifaximin and Neomycin combination to get to a negative SIBO test. But even after the first round of treatment, I was feeling significantly better. And each successive treatment, I got better and better. And now I'm at the point where I have basically no IBS symptoms, and I'm able to eat some of the foods that I previously had to avoid. And so that's a huge win for me. And after all these years of struggling, it's quiet. And I'm so grateful that I wake up in the morning not worried about having an IBS attack in the middle of my morning or my day. And I followed up all that SIBO treatment this last fall with the clear passage therapy that you might have heard about. And this really helped address the underlying adhesions that may have been caused by my surgery and then anything else that was there as well. And this definitely flared things up for me pretty badly at the time, but I feel like it's given me a lot of lasting relief. And so now I think I'm 6 months out and I'm still SIBO free and symptom free. So let me just kind of summarize some of the take-home messages I'd love you to get from this video today. Number 1 is to make sure that the diet you're choosing is really right for your body at this current time. If you don't do this step properly, this can really mess things up. And you don't need to feel beholden to a pre-made diet if your body tells you that it's not right for you. Number 2, make sure that you are focusing your attention on the right things. I wasted a whole lot of time focusing on the diet piece, and it's important, but the elephant in the room that I really should have been focusing on were the infections and, of course, endometriosis. Number 3, persistence and follow through with infections is really important. I did those multiple rounds of SIBO treatment because I tested after my treatment rounds and found that there was still SIBO there and I still needed to address it. So it's really important to follow through with that testing and treatment process to make sure that you're really doing the right thing. Number 4, sometimes the natural options simply aren't enough. I really resisted antibiotics for a long time on principle, and also partly because I was afraid about how I would access them. And in the end, it was the thing that really turned the corner for me. My quality of life had gotten so low that I could no longer avoid doing so, and I had failed treatment with the herbal options. So guess what? The conventional treatment is what actually worked for me, and it's given me my quality of life back, and I don't regret it at all. So that's my story. I no longer have surprise gut attacks. I tolerate a lot of foods that I couldn't before, and I have my energy back to do the things in life that I love to do. And my SIBO's been quiet for quite some time now. Now, I know that you might be in the place that I was earlier, where you're kind of worn out with all the worry and you're not sure what to do, where to go, how to approach it, and maybe you're just like frustrated and overwhelmed with everything. I totally get it, and I've been there, but I want you to know that you can find your way back to good gut health and back to the things that you love to do in your life. And I want you to know that I can help you do this. So if you've ever felt confused with your IBS or SIBO diet or treatment, I want to encourage you to download my free roadmap to gut recovery, which shares the same strategy that I teach my clients to help them find their personalized plan for calm digestion. You can grab your free copy of that by going to confluencenutrition.com/roadmap, and I will leave a link for that below this video. It's also here on the screen for you. All right, let me know if you could relate to what I was sharing in this video by clicking like, or maybe leave me a comment about your personal IBS experience. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my future videos. I look forward to interacting with you and meeting you in the comments, and I will see you next time.